Welcome to your second week of General Chemistry here at Grantham. I am your guest lecturer, Dr. Liz, and I am really glad to see you again this week. How did you do in week one? How did it go? Do you have any questions about what you learned, or did you struggle with some things? If so, be sure you're reaching out to your instructor ASAP. Let's move on to lesson 2, week 2, covering chapter 3. Here we're going to begin to talk about measurable quantities and what they represent in the atomic reference frame. A discussion of how mass can be converted into numbers of species expressed in moles is going to be presented. We'll determine empirical and molecular formulas through lab experiments as well. Alright, so what do all these fancy words really mean? Let me put it into layman's terms for you. Your textbook starts chapter 3 with some interesting information about vinegar. Have you read it? Okay, well let's assume you haven't. Do you know what the main ingredient in vinegar is? It's called acetic acid, a chemical reaction which involves the fermentation of ethanol, which is found in wine or cider, with a bacteria and oxygen produces that substance, acetic acid. That acid is then diluted into a 5% solution, bottled and sold in stores as vinegar. Our bodies also synthesize acetic acid, which means make it, through a series of steps or reactions as our bodies work to eliminate any ethanol we may have consumed. Some of us consume more than others. In this next chapter, we're going to learn how to determine the chemical formula for substances, how to understand the mole, and then finally we'll learn how to calculate anticipated quantities of products, like acetic acid, given specific starting quantities. In lab this week, we're going to be doing the oxygen production lab. Potassium chloride here will be decomposed, producing oxygen gas and potassium chloride. Be sure to watch my introductory video tied to that lab. From there, you're going to download and use the sample lab report that was given in week 1, in case you missed that. Use that as your template for completing this week's lab report, just like you should have done last week. Like last week, you also have 2 discussions and a homework assignment. You will be creating and making 2 main posts in the discussion out of a possible 3 topics. You're also required to make those 2 main posts by Sunday night of this week, and then you've got the last couple of days through the rest of the academic week to make your replies to others. You also have a multiple choice homework, and I encourage you to come back and forth throughout the week and work on that if needed, or you can just sit down at one time and hammer it out. I leave you with this. Did you know that an element can take multiple forms? For example, diamond and graphite. Diamond, like you might have on your finger in a ring or in some jewelry, and graphite, such as in pencils, pencil graphite, are both forms of carbon. I'll leave you thinking about that. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week.